It may be a hot take, but Sneasel is so much cooler than its regional form, it did not need one. We're rating them all, and in battle, its dark and ice typing is so cool, but pretty bad. It has so many weaknesses. Then you look at Sneasel's glass cannon stats, and you see that you better hope you outspeed in one shot, otherwise you're toast. Ice and dark both being special before the split really hurt its ability to do much of anything in Gen 2. Then even in the newer generations, it doesn't get any good offensive options, and is super reliant on late game TMs, when you'll probably have it evolved anyway. So Sneasel itself's battle prowess is way worse than I realized, 2 stars at best. And it's pretty famously unavailable. It's post-game in Gold and Silver, then it's in the typical ice area around the 7th gym in Crystal, Sinnoh, Kalos, and even later in Alola. But it's kind of saved by being mid-game in Galar. So that ends up 2 stars, which I think is the worst non-legendary availability so far. Sneasel is pretty directly based on this yokai. Kamaitachi maybe? I don't know, it's a weasel demon with knife hands that's more active in the cold weather. I mean, that's about as clear as it gets, but it's still an insanely cool idea for a Pokemon. 5 stars. Its design I've always felt is underrated. It has a nice mix of black cat, weasel, and just mischievous little guy energy. I love the pretty rare asymmetry with the pretty bold and contrasting feathers that come out of nowhere, which, you know, make no sense at all, but they sure look cool. Sneasel is awesome. 4 stars. Which steals Sneasel the final score of 3.25 stars, and Johto really is just the land of mid, huh? Sneasel had the worst non-legendary availability out of any Pokemon yet, but Weavile's is somehow worse. We're rating them all, and while Sneasel was also really awful in battle due to its horrible typing, glass cannon stats, and horrible move pool, all while being a late game Pokemon. And Weavile, of course, still has the typing and still has the glass cannon stats, but now it is fast and strong enough to outspeed in one shot a lot of the time, and its special defense is decent. Its move pool in Gen 4 is still horrible outside of Night Slash. It doesn't even get a physical ice move outside of Avalanche, and that's barely fixed in the Gen 8 remakes with just Ice Shard. Sure, it gets good TMs otherwise to take advantage of its attack and its speed, but there's so much wasted potential here. 3.5 stars in battle prowess. And yeah, Sneasel's aforementioned availability was historically awful for being post-game in its own region and pretty late everywhere else other than Galar. Now, we don't count Johto against Weavile since it isn't technically its home region, but everything else remains true. But you also need to remember the Razor Claw, which is after the 8th gym in Sinnoh and post-game in Kalos. So that will bring those scores and therefore its average down to a historically low 1.5 star availability. Though thankfully both Sneasel and Weavile are saved by their concepts. They are very clearly based on this cold weather weasel demon yokai with knife or sickle hands. I don't care if it's directly a copy and paste, that's an amazing idea for a dark ice type Pokemon. 5 stars. Now this one might be a hot take, but I think its design is notably worse than Sneasel's, who just looks so unique and the asymmetry is so underrated. But Weavile doesn't really do anything outside of giving Sneasel a new hairdo and collar. Not to mention that said new hairdo looks all sorts of goofy. The barber really butchered our boy here. But all jokes aside, I'm not saying it's bad. It's still a really cool looking Pokemon. It just didn't really change much upon evolution, and what it did change was worse. 3 stars. Yet Weavile somehow manages to hold on to a 3.25 star final score.